yesterday's news.
Hello, I'm Howard Kane, and this is Old News, the programme which looks at news of today through the eyes and papers of yesterday. Something a little bit different this week. In all the cinemas, it's Barbenheimer, Barbie, and Oppenheimer, the two summer blockbusters. One's very serious, the other not quite so serious, perhaps. It's Oppenheimer I'm thinking of, and the Manx link. Yes, there is one. You might know of it. Within the story, a gentleman called Klaus Fuchs, who was a renowned physicist and a brilliant mathematician, and who worked with Oppenheimer, and features, of course, in the film. Where is the Manx link? Well, of course, he was interned here on the Isle of Man. If we look to the Isle of Man Times of Saturday, February the 9th, 1952, it relates the Sunday Express has started their story the way in which Dr. Klaus Fuchs, the man who gave away atomic secrets to the Russians, worked. We discovered in this first article that the Isle of Man had the doubtful privilege of giving this man asylum in the earlier part of the war, albeit behind barbed wire. He was interned here before being shipped to Canada. Thereafter, the paper says, unfortunately for the world's peace, he was released and engaged on atomic research. Not a huge amount in the papers looking for that, but there is a long piece in the Isle of Man Times, dated Saturday, March the 11th, 1950. In a piece under the title The Spy, it states, American opinion is still disturbed by the revelations in the trial of the spy Klaus Fuchs. Information of immense value to Britain and America concerning the development of the atomic bomb was given to the nation who was our most likely enemy by an alien employed in British research, a man who was well known to have been a communist. He had not changed his views, he did not pretend to have changed them, and our authorities could not grasp the fact that the communist, in whatever country he belongs, bears allegiance to Soviet Russia. He is in the grip of a fierce, devouring doctrine which leads him to disregard all normal standards of conduct. Even if we had to employ this man because of his magnificent brain, surely we could have seen that all his movements were watched. The Prime Minister's plea in the House of Commons that no espionage tests, nothing except totalitarian methods which Britain would disdain to employ, would have enabled us to find about this man, seems quite unconvincing. Fuchs made a frank confession, it says. He said, too, that after a while he saw that the communist practice was wrong, and he brought his spying to an end. Various theories are advanced on why he confessed. One is that he remained under the orders of his Russian masters, and confessed so as to enable them to argue that the confessions made by alleged British and American and French and Dutch spies in Poland and the Balkans must be true also. The Western world has constantly held that these confessions were manifestly manufactured and have been obtained by torture or the use of some drug which breaks down the will. This very week, a Bulgarian accused of spying has given an account of his treatment, which was a form of torture ingeniously devised so that it would leave no mark on the body. True, he is reported to have taken all this story back and said he only uttered it so as to arouse sympathy. Another theory is that when Fuchs declined to spy any longer, the Russians themselves arranged to have him denounced in order to warn others of their instruments that it didn't pay to change one's mind. It sounds so elaborate as to be fantastic, but the truth has been fantastic a good many times. An interesting piece there in the papers. Fuchs arrived in England on September the 24th, 1939, and applied to become a British subject in August 1939. But the application had not been processed before the Second World War broke out in Europe in September 1939. Police arrived in June 1940 and took Fuchs into custody, and he was then interned here on the Isle of Man. Which camp? We don't know for certain. And then in July, sent to internment camps in Canada, first on the plains of Abraham in Quebec City, and then later in a site near Sherbrooke in Quebec. And during his internment in 1940, he continued to work and published 4 more papers with the physicist Max Born. He continued to work after the war. He was imprisoned for 14 years for his espionage, but was released after 9, it's reported, for good behaviour, and immediately went to East Germany, where he continued his research for many years. And as recently as 2014, British official files on Fuchs were still being withheld. As of 2020, the National Archives listed one dossier on Fuchs, including the prosecution file with summary of early interrogations and details of the scientific and technical information he passed on to the Russians. The date of release of this material is still not stated. Go and see the film, very much in the news now. It was very much in the news then. And it sounds like it might be the news still in years to come. Whatever. It's old news. Cheerio.
You're gonna be yesterday's news.